That's where everyone wants to be.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing you're doing because you have experience in doing that with lectures in colleges and universities, but now it's the general public and people just pay to see it, and you fill up these huge, gigantic theaters. I mean, I've seen some of the places that you guys are doing it. You and Sam just got done doing one in Vancouver, and it's huge places. Two, that's right.
Yeah, back to back. And yeah, so it was about 5 hours of intense discussion over 2 days. And, you know, we were supposed to talk for an hour each night and then go to Q&A. But we asked the audience, Brett Weinstein, who was moderating, asked the audience if they wanted to go to Q&A or continue the discussion. And, you know, the response from the crowd was definitely continue the discussion. And so we ended up talking for about 2.5 hours each night. And again, it was the audience is along for the ride. You know, and they were good discussions as far as I'm concerned. You know, it was kind of marketed as a takedown in some sense, Harris versus Peterson.
Right.
You know? But the discussion itself was an attempt on Sam's part and my part to further our thinking about the topic and to bring everyone along for the ride, you know, for the journey, so to speak.
Yeah, well, you guys had 2 podcasts that you did over the phone. So these were the first meetings that you guys had in person.
Yeah, it was the first time I'd met Sam.
So the first one that you 2 had was marred by this discussion about what is truth.
Yeah.
And it was a strange sort of you got stuck. You guys got kind of stuck in that first conversation. But I felt like the second one was much better.
Yes.
Maybe both of you kind of recognized there were some errors made in the first podcast.
Yeah, we augured in on a definition and couldn't let it go. And so that wasn't so good. Yeah, and I wasn't in tip-top shape for that first discussion, or for the second one for that matter. But they've been getting, each discussion I've had with Sam has been getting better. So as far as I'm concerned, and I think he feels the same way. And I mean, we're trying to sort something out that's really, really difficult. And it's the relationship between facts and values, which is parallel to the relationship between, say, objective truth and narrative, or parallel to the distinction between scientific fact and religious truth. All of those things sort of are layered on top of each other, and it's an extraordinarily difficult topic. And so it's not surprising that it's taking all of this discussion to even vaguely get it straight. It's been a central bone of contention among philosophers for, well, probably forever, but certainly since the time of David Hume, several hundred years.
Well, one of the more fascinating things that's coming out of the realm of podcasting is these kind of discussions, these long-form live discussions in front of enormous groups of people where you go over very complex issues. It's a new thing. I mean, and it's something that's greatly received by the public, which is really interesting. I mean, you guys are selling out all over the place.
Yeah, well, one I've really been trying to make sense of this, because I'm thinking, well, what the hell's going on? Why am I selling out 3,000 person auditoriums? And then, but not just me, obviously. Sam is doing it, and you're doing something on a larger scale, but very similar with your long form podcasts. And then there's this whole rise of what Barry Weiss described as the intellectual dark web. That's actually Eric Weinstein's coinage. And so there's a group of us that would be sort of clumped together for reasons that aren't obvious. But I've been trying to figure that out as I do these lectures. Another thing I'm doing with the lectures or the discussions is trying to continually further the development of my ideas. I use the stage, let's say, as a opportunity in real time to think. And I've been thinking, well, if you're surfing, you don't confuse yourself with the wave, right? That's a real mistake. You might be on top of the wave, but you're not the wave. And I think this long-form discussion and the public hunger for that is best conceptualized like that. There's a technological revolution. It's a deep one. The technological revolution is online video and audio, immediately accessible to everyone all over the world. And so what that's done is it's turned the spoken word into a tool that has the same reach as the printed word. So it's a Gutenberg revolution in the domain of video and audio. And it might be even deeper than the original Gutenberg revolution, because it isn't obvious how many people can read, but lots of people can listen. And now it turns out, so, I mean, you got a little bit of that with TV, right? And you got a little bit of it with radio. But there was bandwidth limitations that were really stringent, especially in TV, where you could get 30 seconds if you were lucky, and 6 minutes if you were stellar, to elucidate a complicated argument. So you can't do that. Everything gets compressed to a kind of oversimplified entertainment. But now, all of a sudden, we have this forum for long-form discussion, real long-form discussion, and it turns out that everyone is way smarter than we thought, right? We can have these discussions publicly, and there's a great hunger for it. And I see this paralleled, and this would be, what would you call it, supporting evidence for this hypothesis. The same things happened in the entertainment world because, TV made us think, well, we can handle a 20-minute sitcom, or maybe we can handle an hour and a half made-for-TV movie. But then Netflix came along, and HBO as well, with the bandwidth restrictions gone, and all of a sudden it turned out that, no, we can handle 40-hour complex, multi-layered narratives where the characters shift, where the complexity starts to reach the same complexity as great literature, and there's a massive market for it. And so it turns out that we're smarter than our technology revealed to us. And I think those of us who've been placed in this intellectual dark web group, there's some things we have in common. We more or less have independent voices because we're not beholden to any corporate masters except peripherally. And we've been operating in this long-form space, and the technology has facilitated that. And so all of a sudden it turns out that there's more to people than we thought. And thank God for that.